Welcome back, everybody, to a match that I know a lot of you have been looking forward to. It is Sequential Gaming facing off against Evil Geniuses for our final match of the day for the G1 League Dota 2 Qualifiers. Whoever wins this match advances into the tournament. It is a best out of three. Game 1 is going to get underway relatively soon. I am LD, and joining me is Godz. And Godz, this one should be interesting. I think for me, the big question is EG going to run that night strat? But let's talk a little bit about this matchup. What are you expecting to see here?
Well, expecting to see EG, I mean, probably stick with what they're good at, which is go for those sort of fairly strong lanes, but then the sort of the mid-game group up and push. They love to get maelk on that Chen. They used him to great success in the games against Mineski. They had to switch around some of their other picks based on what Mineski picked and banned, but they sort of adjusted. They had sort of replacements for certain heroes. Game 1, it was Fear playing the solo mid DK. Game 2, they came back with something different. So EG, I mean, they just love to sort of go for those early racks pushes. I mean, it's literally around the 20 to 25 minute mark where they'll be looking to push down your tier 3 towers. So sqL need to be sure to get some cannon push up, need to be sure that they don't get outlaned. And if you get ahead at EG early, I feel that's really where EG start to feel a bit uncomfortable.
It's true at the international too, in a lot of their matches. They're a team that they love sort of their timey pushes. I think is the StarCraft 2 analogy or the turn of phrase you might use to describe it. You get your key items up your mechanism, blink dagger on a hero like Enigma, and that's where you go. It's not. It's EG has won long drawn out games, but it's really not how they play, especially not as of late. One thing we've seen a lot of them from them recently is this night strat, and I think it's sort of it's emblematic of how they like to play, which is just aggressive. Kind of these. It's not from the get go necessarily like we saw from Flash. It's more of like a mid game kind of aggression where they pick heroes like Omni Knight, who provide not that much in the laning stage, but once you get the levels and the items are very powerful in those long scale kind of team pushes and larger scale clashes. Don't fall behind early though. That is important for EG. That's our first key point. This is a lineup that EG they're not a team that plays well from behind. They have a lot of players who like to be aggressive. If you've ever watched Demon stream or even jeyo's, you can tell these are not the most patient of players, especially Demon. Just he likes to be aggressive even then off lane, doing all sorts of cheeky things in the tree line. Demon really is. I think he's coined a lot of those spots, especially in the Radiant tree line. While playing that Dire off lane, whatever the hero is. So not falling behind early, I feel, is very important just because of the way their team is constructed. We throw in there the fact that they should drink up their monster, and the reason for that is it is very early in the U.S. It's now 9 a.m. for me over on the East Coast. I've been up all night, but EG, I don't even know if they slept. I mean, with these guys, this is Demon's bedtime half the time, so
Yeah.
this may just be the end of his night. For others, they may be waking up and then going back to sleep. I know jeyo did that the other day. So they're going to be tired potentially, but this is a team that deals pretty well, I have to say, with odd match times. And some teams, like Complexity, very particular about their schedule, don't really do well with late matches. In fact, almost never
Yeah.
will schedule them. But EG travels pretty well. They're more veteran and experienced, so have some caffeine, but they should be okay. And then, of course, the night strat. So that's pretty much our keys to this game for EG. Let's talk a tiny bit about sequential gaming. I think this is the team for most of the viewers out there. They won't be as familiar with them.
Yeah, it's an upcoming team. Oh, it's a team who's been upcoming for a long, long time, and mostly coming from New Zealand. They've got a couple Australian players as well. So we here in Australia like to reference them as an Australian team because if there's one player on them from Australia, they're an Australian team. But it's the Fumoffu-led team, but they're a team who like to sort of split the map. They go for strong split pushes. They like to have strong solo heroes. I mean, Kux played a fantastic Broodmother the other day up against Make Dream. And Fumoffu, generally their solo mid player, but not always. I mean, they mix things up with their picks. They picked a Mirana the other day. They're really a team who have plenty of different options with how they can play this. And I feel like they actually match up pretty well against EG. So this could be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, the game is about to get underway. So our key points for this one, the one that we're going to bring up, I think this is really the two main points. Spread out the opposition. We talked about EG having timey pushes, a team that likes to group up and try and win the game around that 20, maybe 30-minute mark. Spreading out your
Yeah.
opposition also plays into sequential gaming strength. They ran that Mirana rush to Midas, and then they also had the Broodmother. They really do well individually as solo players, so they need to pick a lineup that supports that kind of playstyle. Strong split pushers, strong individual heroes that don't need support, that aren't too reliant on team fight clashing. And above all else, you're up against a veteran squad. Stay calm and don't get cocky. And I say this because Sequential Gaming, their captain is Fumoffu. He is a very cocky guy. He came into the stream chat, was trash talking a little bit after their victory yesterday. Deserved, perhaps. The personality, the spunk, I think a lot of people appreciate it. Some find it over the top. But it can have a spillover effect into your gameplay, and that's something Sequential Gaming are going to want to avoid. With all that being said, the game is underway, so let's dive right into this one. Evil Geniuses on the Dire, Sequential Gaming on the Radiant. The Knight strat will not be coming, at least not in full force, because a key piece of that puzzle, the Chaos Knight, has been banned out. But they could still go for the Omni. Start off with the Chen, so they get the Holy Knight, the Rogue Knight, the Sven is available, something that they could look towards, and the Leshrac. Leshrac is he's sort of the oddball when they do run the Knight strat. Of course, very versatile support hero.
Yeah. I had bdiz spamming me saying, "Come on, Leshrac is like the little pony that's just like rides around with them," and I'm like, "That it doesn't work. Come on, it
No,
just doesn't work. It
no.
doesn't fit in." But this is really standard EG. I mean, I feel EG as far as picks and ban goes, they're fairly predictable, but not in a bad way. They've refined their strategy so that if CK is banned, they know what they'll get instead. There's always a backup plan, a backup hero, something that can replace what it is. They'll have maelk on the Chen. bdiz is almost always playing that support Leshrac, and maybe this is going to be that DK third pick for Fear to solo the mid lane instead. Maybe they'll get Demon side lane solo hero here. This is a team for EG. I mean, they just have these sort of small little changes they'll do to their strategy, but it's always going to be that timing push you talked about, where they'll group up. I mean, and just look to take down, go for those early pushes. So sqL need to have some counter push. They've got the Invoker. We'll see whether it's Exort or Quaswex. Tidehunter, a good hero to have against that kind of a push strat. Maybe we'll see T-Duck once again playing it in that side lane solo, looking to pull some of the tricks that Demon's very well known for in those trees. But they need something else, I feel, as well for that counter push, and maybe that comes back to something like we saw yesterday. Picked up Puck, had kphoenix playing him. Plenty of options for counter push. They just need to make sure they get some. EG for now, though, their third pick, and I mean, I'm leaning towards something like a DK here, but there's still plenty of other options. Maybe they want to get another hero to combo with that Leshrac.
The thing about the Knight strat is that it seems gimmicky, but it just happens that all those heroes are pretty good heroes to pick up at really any stage of the draft. I mean, you pick Chen, DK, Leshrac here. It's just a nice balanced lineup. You have a jungler, you have a support or hero who can play as a farmer in the Leshrac. Then you have DK who can be that safe lane farm, can solo mid. So it really, well, you called it. It is going to be the DK. So the seeds of the Knights, but we'll have to see if the full round table is available for this game or not. I mean, it seems gimmicky, but it's really not. It's a lineup that has a lot of versatility, even at the early stages of the draft, and they really could go anywhere from here. Their options are pretty wide open. Looks like they're going to need their offlaner, and then probably something that's going to be laning up with the Leshrac.
Yeah, I mean, offlaners, there's plenty there. I mean, Omni Knight may be their preferred one, as Demon's been playing that quite a bit as of late. We'll see. It's sqL actually a bit afraid of that Templar Assassin. Maybe haven't done as much homework as they'd like. Maybe expecting the DK Leshrac still possible. I mean, they can put those two in the safe lane, although EG have been running the DK more often than not solo mid. As far as what you want to come with that Leshrac, I mean, Jeyo's normally been playing that sort of more farming role in the safe lane. They've run a lot of CK there. With CK banned out, though, they'll have to go with some other semi-carry option. And I'm wondering what that might be.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up that it's Fear has before Jeyo joined this lineup, it had been Fear pretty much always playing that safe lane farmer, always the one position, even if he wasn't in the safe lane. They've been swapping things up a little bit. Sometimes we see Fear going solo mid, and it really comes down to the heroes. Fear's been playing the Dragon Knight for them, although Jeyo certainly can. They ban out Venomancer, a great defensive hero, good at stopping those pushes, as well as blunting aggression. I like this ban a lot. And if you look at this lineup, well, it doesn't necessarily need a support. You could run Tide as your hard support, but normally you want to get him some farm, and it looks like Enchantress should be the 4 position. So we'll see. I'm guessing an offlane Tide, probably a solo mid Invoker, and then some sort of dual lane for that safe lane, but they do have a little bit of flexibility. Tide could be a part of a dual lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can run the Tide as in that dual lane. The problem is it's a melee hero supporting something else in the dual lane. So you want to go for a ranged carry of some sort. Heroes like the Queen of Pain would say ban it themselves. I think the Queen of Pain's a good ban because EG could have run that in the dual lane with the Leshrac. They could have run it mid and done the DK Leshrac. It's a hero that just sort of offers them some damage because DK alone isn't going to be dealing out enough damage as a carry hero. You need a secondary carry or a semi carry as it's more known, and that's sort of heroes like Queen of Pain. So EG, I mean, this is this is sqL doing some smart picks and bans. I mean, preventing EG getting what they're comfortable with, and as well as that Beastmaster, a hero that Demon runs in the offlane quite often. I think jeyo even played him once in their recent matches as well. So they've got a fairly versatile team when it comes to heroes like these. And sqL, I mean, their fourth pick, I guess they want to maybe start looking at picking up their sort of carry or semi-carry option.
Yeah, Mirana, we talked about it. It's something they ran yesterday. Could be a decent option in this game. Arrow is a great form of initiation if you can land it. Kind of gets tricky with the Chen creeps though. Just a lot of bodies in the way of that, of setting up the arrows. They don't have. Okay, throw that out the window. It's a lifestealer pick. And this almost certainly puts Tide in the off lane. So it looks like off lane Tide,
Yep.
Lifestealer farming in the safe lane, Enchantress in the jungle, Invoker solo mid, and then something to support this Lifestealer. I wouldn't mind something maybe like a Lina. Just gives them some burst damage, some good
Yep.
AoE to try and slow down those creeps.
And I'm thinking maybe even offensive trial, and that's why they picked up this Enchantress early. They maybe want to contest that jungle, where Maelk's going to be trying to jungle. And Lifesteal is a great offensive trial and hero. You just need that strong support. Normally, you'd go for something like a Venomancer. Venomancer has been banned out, so yeah, Lina fits perfectly, and would probably be the best option here for that trial. And if they want to go offensive, maybe something like a Disruptor would be okay as well. Not quite as great. It doesn't have the stun or any sort of slow, but it's a very useful hero with the glimpse later on in the early to mid game. And Lone Druid. So there's, I suppose, your offlane hero. Could be in the mid lane, of course, with the DK Leshrac lane, but most likely going to be in the offlane. We could see a Lone Druid versus Tide Hunter matchup if sqL want to run the offensive tri lane, and that could go bad for Tide. That's sort of the downside. If they run the offensive tri lane, then you see Tide Hunter. Sure, he's got a 1-to-1 matchup, but it's not a very favorable one.
It's not. I think this is where the mind games and sort of trying to outthink your opponents as far as what they're going to do for the lanes come into question. You could even maybe put the Lone Druid mid, but of course very susceptible to ganks. 1v1 versus Invoker, he does just fine. In fact, can often win that lane, but if Enchantress shows up, he'll be in a bit of trouble. Could see a DK solo mid, maybe Lone Druid farming the safe lane with Leshrac doing a lot of pulling, and then someone else in the off lane. Still a bit wide open for EG as far as how they actually want to run the lanes. Sequential gaming, I feel a little bit more obvious what they're going to do. Just because when you get the Enchantress, you're picking her to be aggressive. She's not going to offer you nearly as much as Chen when you get to that mid game, unless you have a bit of a lead, unless you have the items up. So going for the early tower dive, the early push, whatever you want to do with those multiple creeps from level 1, it's going to be something a little bit more aggressive. And speaking of aggressive, I think Lina would be a very aggressive support. I brought her up before. Even something like Shadow Demon wouldn't be a bad choice here, just giving you a setup.
Yeah.
They're a little bit lacking on setup. Open Wounds is a decent snare, but the range isn't great, and it's only a slow. It's not any sort of hard disable.
I mean, the other and just going back to what we discussed pre-game, I mean, you can't. I mean, winning the lanes is great, but you need
I love
AOE.
this.
And this is the AOE. I was just about to say they need some AOE to stop the push. I mean, sure that maybe they win the lanes, but what happens when EG group up and look to push down towers one by one? I mean, Lone Druid as an offlane hero is great for pushing. The DK ultimate gives bonus damage. Chen creeps, Chen heals. Leshrac, there's so much push. They needed a strong hero like Lina, but they also needed counter push. Jakira is much better at counter push than Lina because of the range on Ice Path. The macro pie, which now lasts, I think it's like 7 seconds or something ridiculously long. This is a perfect pick for this trial lane, and I really like what sqL have done. They don't have to go offensive trial lane, but I think they can with these heroes.
And the new Ice Path it gets out there so quickly. It pretty much is a reliable initiation stun or setup ability, especially when you combo with something like Open Wounds. This is a scary tri lane. Right now, I feel they could find kills even against a hero like DK, who's pretty tanky. Even with Lone Druid, maybe using the bear if he's in that lane to try and usher them away, block them off. Some Admiral Bulldog-esque plays. I like this, and I think aggressive works for this lineup. Oh boy, Lycan.
Wow.
What is this? How are they going to lane this now?
I'm thinking. I guess they're going to stick with what they'd normally do, which is the DK solo mid, the Lone Druid off lane, and then the Lycan Leshrac in a dual lane. So Lycan safe lane, being supported by bdiz's Leshrac is my guess. jeyo's the one playing the Lone Druid. He doesn't often go into that offlane, but maybe EG will switch things up based on these picks. It can always be an offlane Lycan. Lycan can pull the creep wave to his tower, similar to how a Lone Druid does with his Spirit Bear with those wolves. They're a lot squishier, but if you get away, they're nice and fast. They can pull the creep wave to you. So I would say it's going to be safe lane Lycan, but it may not be. as LD has
Oh,
disappeared.
oh God, my cat just freaked the hell out. Sorry about that, guys. But I am back, and I'm gonna pick up the ball. So the
All good.
Lycan pick. If they could get to the mid game with this Lycan, that makes their carries the lone druid and the DK. The damage potential from this team will be absolutely outrageous.
I mentioned to this earlier before the cast. I wasn't going to say it, but I feel like this is typical EG cheese. I mean, this is the Dota 2 equivalent of cheesing. I mean, in StarCraft 2, you go for the cannon rushing. You have all these builds. You can go pull all your SCVs as a Terran and look to just wipe out your opponent really early. And this is what EG do. This is the viable form of cheesing your opponent in Dota 2. You get this mass push lineup. You play it standard the first 15 minutes, and as soon as you get those levels, you group up as 5 and then just go push down the enemy base. And how do you fight this amount of pushing power? I mean, if you do okay in the lanes, it's going to be a situation where EG can really just steamroll through SQL. It's going to be really hard to defend, and I mean that's really the big worry here for SQL. We're going
Well,
to see Enchantress looking to head towards the safe lane though, so they're not contesting the jungle.
interesting. You know, this could be the mind games though. Just EG maybe thinking that EG might expect an offensive tri lane. Just we'll go defensive, but you know, catching them off guard could really turn out to be more of an offensive option for them. As far as anti-push goes, they could have quite a lot. Obviously the twin-headed dragon, and then the other big piece to this puzzle could be this Exhort Invoker. Was gonna say he's going Exhort just because of the stats, and now he takes the orb. So now we know for sure Exhort Invoker with the Chaos Meteor, as well as the Deafening Blast, he does a lot of AoE damage, especially if you max that Exhort Orb off the bat instead of going for the double Forge Spirits build. Let's introduce our players. Fumoffu going solo mid as that Invoker. Offlane Tidehunter being handled by Kux. We'll have to see if he can find those demon spots, although presumably EG is well schooled in the art of picking them off. kphoenix on the Lifestealer. Laning up with T-Duck playing that support Twin-Headed Dragon. Sentry Ward's already available to deward anything, although there isn't anything to deward at the moment. Vodkey going to be playing that defensive jungle Enchantress with the smoke picked up, and it's an offlane Lycan. This is yeah, I guess you can pull the creep wave with the wolves, but this is very odd to see.
Yeah, and I mean, Enchantress can look to contest that. You've got the enchant ability, which can steal one of the wolves, and the wolves are a lot squishier now this version, so physical damage alone will be able to take them down pretty quickly. 200 HP, so you steal one, you just have to right-click the other one down, and then suddenly Demon unable to pull that creep wave back to his tower, as well as he'd like. So this is not going to be the easiest time at this bottom lane for him. It's going to be heavily relying on getting that pull to his tower. You've got Fear at mid though. He'll do pretty well. I'll finish introducing the SQL side. We've got Fumoffu playing in the mid lane on the Invoker, sporting his Fumoffu's Cape of the Immortal. He's got his own name on that cape, who also keeps track of his kills as well as tornado kills. He's only got one tornado kill. He's not really on the ball with that. Over in the bottom lane, we've got kphoenix playing the Nakes, or more commonly known as the Lifestealer here in Dota 2. T-Duck playing the support Jakiro. VDK or Vodkey playing the Enchantress, and then in the offlane is going to be Kux on that Tidehunter.
Well, now we've introduced sequential gaming twice, so let me introduce EG.
Oh my gosh, LD, I'm a complete dick and have not.
No. It's I wanted to let you dig that grave a little bit, but now I'm gonna.
Wow.
Now I'm the dick.
I swear I was listening. I'm just like in my own world right now.
I think I've done that at least twice. So.
Wow.
Ay. Let's try this though. Jeyo playing the Dragon Knight, bdiz on that Leshrac, support, safe lane. Chen, maelk handling that, of course, smoke for him as well. Fear on the solo mid lone druid, which I actually think does very well against Invoker, and Exhort will help you deal with that. Essentially the 2 here last hitting, but should have the edge there. And Demon in the offlane. Expect to see a lot of pulling of the creep wave, a la Prophet or Lone Druid with the wolves, but like you said, I'm not sure if he'll actually be able to do it. They're so squishy at level 1. Very easily brought down, and of course Enchantress can take one over. We'll have to see if he can get this going. You know, the other thing is, in this lineup, like it really doesn't have... I feel just having Hal, as well as the Wolves to scout in the mid to late game, and providing you maybe just sort of a distraction with the ult, I think Lycan's a decent sort of support for a cheesy kind of pushing lineup. Maybe not ideal, but I wouldn't be surprised if this works out okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it doing okay for EG. I mean, despite it being very unconventional. I mean, Invoker will do okay against the Lone Druid, but Fee should get some decent early game farm. I'll be interested to see if he goes for that Radiance, and then that's probably really where that timing push comes in. As soon as he gets the Radiance, that's really where the word go really will come. That's when that's where they sort of start grouping up. Radiance is when they can start taking towers one by one. They can take out Roshan, and then they can look to sort of really push high ground, go tier 3s. And at that point, sqL have to be ready, have to have some big items up on the Lifestealer, have to have some levels on the Jakiro as well as the Invoker to defend those pushes.
It should also be mentioned, Lifestealer not a bad hero to sort of counter Chen and mess up the jungle game as he can infest a creep. And also, if he ever infests a Chen creep during a push, he heals back to full health instantly because they have so much HP. The final point I want to make as far as these hero matchups is, aside from Entangle, if Lifestealer gets big with that 6-second rage and he has some items up, there's nothing to stop him aside from Entangle. So could be a real game breaker hero. And although he doesn't have AoE, he could just pick heroes off. We'll have to see how it works, but I think he has some potential to do good work in this game. There's no Beastmaster Roar, nothing along those lines. So the game is now back underway. We resume, and already Fear off to a very fast start. 5-1, and we're not even a minute in.
Yeah, Fear is got the slight edge on the Invoker, I'd say, as far as last hitting goes. And this is, I mean, well, I'd say it's on a fairly neutral server. Both Fear as well as fumoffu probably hovering around the 250 ping mark. And sqL, I mean, this is going to be a tough mid lane as well as a tough top lane. Tidehunter, though, is going to get this lane pushed out a bit to him, so it looks like he will manage to get some farm. bdiz dewarding the pool to make sure he has that option to pull the wave back whenever he needs.
Trying to pull the wave with these wolves, but I don't think it's going to work unless T-Duck pulls his own wave into the... Oh, this is a nice reaction by T-Duck. The wolves were actually going to despawn, so I don't think it would have mattered anyway, but even if they weren't, if you pull your own wave towards it, then you'll just have two waves battling out together, so... Nice decision making there, and Demon getting nothing on this lane. Now, he has got a couple of creeps, but really not much. You compare that to the Tidehunter hitting level 2, getting close to level 3, and now trying to do some counter pulling, which bdiz promptly retorts by denying that. Already, Vodki looking to get aggressive, smoked up with a Centaur, although it's about 2/3 of the way through its spawn time, and he's going to waste the smoke and go back to farming. A little bit unfortunate because this level 1 Lycan is very easily ganked if the lane is pushed. Unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah, just timing that gank a bit wrong, I'd say. I mean, Demon was actually not even sitting near his tower. They want to be doing it so that the smoke comes when they're about to be at the tower, the creep wave. They can dive the tower with creep waves giving vision, and then obviously Enchantress coming in from behind, setting it up and giving the Jakiro Ice Path. I mean, you mentioned earlier, just so hard to actually miss the spell now, and they're still keeping Demon out of the lane, so they don't get the gank, but it's more just Enchantress wasting a lot of time with that movement bottom.
At the same time, it's a lone druid, as well as a DK, basically getting free farm. 15-1 on the DK, 11-3 on the lone druid. It's not quite free farm, but getting a lot. Two heroes who scale very well into the mid game, especially running some kind of push strat. Get an early pipe up on the DK or something to support the team. And then you have your Radiance on the lone druid, and you can just start pushing, and sure, you're shutting down the Lycan, but you're not addressing these two. Whereas for sequential gaming, Enchantress went for that early smoke gank, only level 3. I mean, it's not a bad level by any means, but you see maelk a bit ahead in terms of experience, being a little bit more efficient with this time. So far, things looking pretty good for EG. Despite this offlane Lycan, he's still getting experience as well. Now the wave's under his tower, but they're not going. That's a little bit unfortunate, to have the lane push now, but not have the Enchantress there. He really shouldn't be getting this experience.
Yeah, they want to keep Demon out. They want to get that early kill, and once they kill him, they can transition into that early tier 1 tower push, and that's what EG are going to be looking to do top. Once Chen maybe gets level 5, maybe even sooner. Chen already maelk up to level 4, Boxy on par with the Enchantress, but maelk once level 5 with the double creep will look to push top with the Edict. I mean, Tidehunter can't really do anything to stop that push from happening.
Are you happy with what you're getting right now if you're sequential gaming? I mean, your Jakiro's only level 2, your Enchantress level 4. Do you want to maybe do something like buy another smoke and go gank mid? Lone Druid is very easily killed off at this stage of the game, and I feel like if they don't start... You know, you talked about the push, it's also just getting these levels up. Level 6 Lone Druid is... Then it becomes a real whale to try and bring them down. Are they happy with what they're getting, or do they need to start pressing the issue a bit more?
Yeah, I think the big issue is this mid lane where Lone Druid hasn't been pressured all too much. I mean, Fumo has managed to get a lot of denies, but he's still behind in terms of last hits to this Lone Druid. So yeah, I mean, a smoke gank mid could have worked. I mean, if that first smoke gank went mid and got a successful kill, and it wouldn't have been wasted time. Sure, they don't kill the Lycan, but Lycan's already been kept relatively low level, has been somewhat blunted, and this is going to be sqL deciding just to go for that tier 1 tower push bottom though.
Well, we know Sequential Gaming likes their hand of Midas. We saw it yesterday from Fumoffu. Top first blood, just barely caught the tail end of that. Tidehunter dropping top to a big dive from DK, and Leshrac not actually using Dragon Form, so somehow got into melee range for that Dragon Blood stun. Meanwhile, mid lane, Fumoffu is going to whip on the Sunstrike, and now the Entangle. This will be a kill, a solo kill at that from Lone Druid onto Invoker. Really needed to land that Sunstrike, but very difficult to do it, and when you get entangled, you're basically dead. So things looking real good for EG. Demon has not died. Lone Druid gets the solo kill, and top lane they get the kill onto the Tide. Still not level 6, only level 4, and this Ravage is going to be very important, but a bit delayed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that sqL will have to sort of deal with some of this push and maybe try take it to this top lane, because right now it's going to be at least one tower going the way of EG at top. And EG probably don't stop at 2 towers. sqL, though, have taken 2 towers of themselves already, so they've managed to outpush EG, and if they want, maybe T-Duck on that Jakira can get a TP, come top lane, try defend, because right now they can't really do too much at this bottom lane. They push 2 towers, they're not going to be getting a third here. So I think they maybe try contest this top second tier tower. Don't let EG just keep getting towers at will.
You know, if they leave this lane, Demon's just going to start getting a lot of levels and experience, and it can be the downside to pushing that side lane early. Sure, Tide's going to get sort of the return experience, but Lycan needs that a lot more than Tide. Tide, you hit 6, you're already going to be a pretty high impact here. Lycan, not really the same at that point. The tier 2 top, not going to be denied. It will go down. Not sure got the last hit. Believe it might have just been the Radiant, or the Dire rather. And Demon now farming at his tier 3. As well as kphoenix, the Midas up, 1,000 gold on him. Is the lead farmer this game, I believe, 3,400 net worth, but neck and neck is Jeyo on that Dragon Knight.
Yeah, I mean, and sure, Lone Druid's had a great time early on in this mid lane, and I mean, even getting, fantastic time. He got a solo kill as well on the Invoker, but it's still just 6 minutes in. I mean, you're not going to have that Radiance up for another good 10 minutes or so. So sqL have plenty of time to make something happen here over the next couple of minutes. The push from EG, it can't really. The problem is with this Lone Druid pick is they can't just take towers as frequently as they'd like. I mean, Tide's going to be level 6 in just a second, and with that, sqL can defend any push that comes their way. I mean, EG don't want to group up when Titus is level 6 until there's a Radiance on Fear.
At the same time, do they really need to group up? I think they're fine just farming. They have the better late game. They have 3 heroes that scale well. And Chen really wants to get 6, really wants to get, I mean, ideally 7 to have 3 creeps, and you get that mechanism up. And maelk, I gotta say, normally maelk is a jungler player who really prioritizes farming a lot early, and he might go for a tower too, but is pretty good about not falling behind, sort of similar to Ake in that regard. So at this point, he's actually managed to, he's fallen behind. Vodka has pulled ahead a little bit. Power treads up another smoke for him. So I think they really need to get the levels anyway on Chen and Lycan, and they'll probably be okay just with sort of hanging back, not being too aggressive now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like sqL are the ones who are going to be looking to, who will go on the aggressive at some point soon. Chen sending some illusions down through the jungle, getting some scaling. But with this smoke, I mean, sqL have some intent to get some more ganks going. The problem is, where do they find them? EG are farming really smart. I mean, you've got Demon farming Ancients. As soon as the lane pushes out when it's not nearest tier 3, you've got Fear, who is farming neutrals in between farming at the mid lane, and as soon as he feels it's not safe, he'll go back to those neutrals here. He knows where the Jakira is roughly, and I think he's feeling pretty confident that he's not getting ganked by this Enchantress.
Oh, Ravage top!
Right on the high ground.
And the Sunstrike,
Oh,
Jeyo
wow.
stunned, and he's gonna live with 10 HP, but Kux has a haster. Anchor Smash will hit. The Courier joins the fight. There's another Dragon Tail, and he's gonna hit it. Split Earth as well. Slowing down this kill. Will get it, but will die for the trouble. Oh my goodness. At least he got the kill. That would have been a total disaster if he didn't. Meanwhile, middle lane. Dive onto Fear. Slow. No impetus yet. The creep about to die to the tower. Fear finally went back for point in the ult. He actually skipped it until level 8, but he will pick it up now. And this gank mid not working, and the gank top barely succeeding.
Yeah. sqL, I mean, they're getting a bit too eager, I would say, to get some of these kills. I mean, overextending, sort of not really. I mean, they're going in when they just don't have the damage to get those kills. I mean, top lane, they almost did a bit of bad luck going Cux's way, and then mid lane, I mean, they didn't even come close to killing off Fear.
You know, there's no impetus on this Enchantress. It goes back to that early gank failing. I think without that, you definitely have level 6 by now. You definitely have impetus. And with impetus, you may even be able to solo kill that Lone Druid just because he can't run in to fight you, because the Invoker, the Twin Head Dragon are chasing. So if not killing him, at least driving him back. Instead, Fear, full health, and very, very happy to continue farming. 2,100 gold up on him. Not going to be far off of that Radiance, or that Relic at least, and Dragon Form gets popped. Here comes that push. What can they do to stop it? We're going to see how strong Ice Path is, only catching out one, and now T-Duck will have trouble. The Meteor splashes through, and the Deafening Blast immediately going to be able to pick off bdiz 1 for 1, and in comes Tide. If he had Ravage, this is probably 2 kills. maelk is not level 6 yet, but unfortunately he doesn't because he got that solo kill top. Demon still farming Ancients. He's already up to level 6 and getting pretty close to a Vlad's. He's got a Morbid Mask, he's got the Ring of Basilius, he's got the Ring of Regen, only 100 gold away. Off-lane Lycan working out surprisingly well this game.
Yeah, as soon as he got the levels, it didn't matter if the lane's too dangerous to farm, and he just finds some farm in these Ancients here. He's going to go back into this lane, but kphoenix is by far the most farmed hero in the game, and that's not someone Demon wants to be laning against, even without any of the supports there. So kphoenix, I mean, I guess Armlet's going to be coming up very, very quickly on him, and as soon as he gets there, he wants to come to the fights, especially fights where EG are pushing and there's a Tide Ravage up. He can just clean up some of those heroes. He's got the max out rage. It's a full 6 seconds of magic immunity, and during that time, he can do a lot of damage.
The new Rage is just absolutely insane. Split Earth will hit, but really, this is going to be a tough kill. kphoenix could look to infest something. He is going to, and then could pop out and maybe even kill bdiz. But for the moment, just hiding out. What did he actually infest? It's the creep here, not a wolf. If he infests a wolf, could be turned around. Ice Pet will hit on Fear on the middle lane. They do have Ravage. Are they going to use it for a solo kill? Oh, should have waited for that TP. Could have gotten 2 that way, but Sunstrike will hit. Is it going to be another escape with a couple points of HP? No, the Ice Path connects. Maybe could have toggled True Form to try and dodge something there, but choosing not to do so. Now T-Duck taking the Edict damage will fall, and 2 for 1 and a Ravage used as well. And what do you know? EG all near the Roshan pit. The benefit to these, what we're sort of calling push cheese strategies, is you often have great lineups for killing Roche quickly, and with Lycan, well, he may not be as strong in the laning phase, but he can still Roche like a champ.
Yeah, sqL are just forcing everything a bit too much. I mean, whenever they've had the Tide Ravage, neither has been all too useful. I mean, going for solo kills with the Tide Ravage is okay in certain games, but I just feel this isn't one of them. And neither time have they even really gotten those solo kills. I mean, Titus had to put his body on the line both times. Jakiro went down as well there. They also lost an Aegis. That was a big win for EG, who are now going to find themselves starting to get some of those core items. I mean, Jeyo with his Drum of Endurance, has Arcane Boots, wants to start building towards that mech. They've got the Vlads. I mean, they'll have maybe a hero go for the pipe, which I imagine DK will go for the pipe after this drums. And then with that, they've got all these auras, and this amazing just timing push will come when they just group up as 5. It's going to be scary. I mean, even with the Tide Ravage up, even with a really farm next, it's going to be so hard for sqL to fight that. It's
all the little touches as well. You know, things like Dragon Knight getting a drum instead of rushing, say, a BKB or a damage item, just getting something that will help the entire team. You know, the Lone Druid going for Radiance, which is standard, but it fits in well with the strategy, the Vlads and Lycan. It seemed like an odd lineup during the draft, but in the mid-game, the synergy is totally there for this team. And the mech on Chen coming out soon, the AoE heals, the spammable stunts, you know, all in all, it's not just a pushing lineup, but also a lineup that can fight pretty well with the DK to initiate it, and a good chasing with the Entangle, and Fear is getting close to that Relic. I feel once the Radiance is up, EG can really start chopping down towers.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the little things, I mean, Lestrak, even with an Urn of Shadows, I mean, it's such a great pushing item. Having those, like, basically a flask after each little clash, you can heal up any hero that gets low. You've got the Arcane Boots as well, elsewhere with maelk on Chen. bdiz probably going to maybe get some Arcane Boots as soon as he can afford it as well. So it's basically this mobile fountain for EG, and, I mean, it's a bit of a deathball army. I mean, right now, it's not quite built up yet. They still need the mech, they still need the Radiance, so sqL need to take some towers, need to get some good fights before that comes up. Or at least needs to just take it really late game and hold those pushes when they come. And that's going to be in the form of this Lifestealer who's finished off his armlet. So maybe they want to try to take some fights with him now. He's level 10. He's got the armlet.
Oh, he does. I was about to say, oh no, Demon might kill this, but it looks like he killed off that camp. No, he's going to run into the courier. Has he spotted it yet? He will right now, and he can just assassinate it! Armlet off the map for 3 minutes. That is a massive loss for him. Now kphoenix getting entangled, forced to infest a regular creep. Fear taking some damage. There is a Ravage. I think he just pop it here, but he's waiting. He's waiting. Now he will connect, hitting Demon as well as Fear. Where's the damage though? Vodki comes in looking for the imps, but Fear running close, limiting what he takes, and actually trying to fight Vodki while he retreats out, hoping for an entangle. He may die. The A just popped on Demon, and it looks like middle lane, they're diving. They want T-Duck. Double stun combo. That kill should happen, and Fear still running, still surviving, stumbles across an invis rune, luckiest rune of his life. Gosh, Sunstrike hits! No, it doesn't. Fear just dodging away from that, running on through. Narrow miss for Fumoffu. kphoenix out of the ult. It is on cooldown. Boy, would he love to have that armlet right now. Fear giving chase in Biz, so they can't actually attack him. But the bear, whether you're in Biz or not, will be able to entangle, will be able to auto-attack, stun, and it looks like kphoenix in a world of trouble. Not sure he gets out of this one alive. How? Just to give the team some bonus damage, and a drum charge pop by jeyo. Really wanted to get this kill. Nice dodge onto the ice path. Notice how bdiz is trapped, though. Normally, you can just run right through as soon as it goes off, but in this new patch, that's no longer the case. The Wolves going for an epic block, puppy style if he can get it off. T-Dog taking some big damage. T-Dog still alive, but you know he's going to die sooner or later, and finally Demon decides to put him out of his misery. maelk, while this all goes on, is farming, pushing top by himself, and he may pay for this, or will he? There's no way to cancel his TP. Oh, the shenanigans this game really starting to get out of control.
Yeah, EG right now, I mean, they're outplaying sqL, I mean, all over the map. I mean, Chen being able to solo push that far up the top lane and then just gets out with a TP scroll when the two heroes come. And then bottom lane, I mean, just kill after kill going EG's way. Fear just juking people like a boss. He's got his relic up now. We're 16 minutes in. This is about as good as you'd expect on a lone druid. And this is going to get worse and worse for sqL. I mean, these fights just not really going their way. Even Demon, the offlane Lycan, I mean, you say working well, it's working magnificently. He's up to 2.4k gold. I imagine he's going to be going for a Necrobook this game. I mean, just based on the EG strategy, I feel it works a lot better than going for something like a BKB.
Oh, yeah, you know, just tank up, just more stuff to throw at their towers, and then you punish the big AoE heroes. If they do manage to kill that Necrobook, they pay, and if they don't, it is going to fuel your push. So either way, I love Necrobook this game. The Relic, it's not the fastest we've ever seen, but it is plenty fast enough, especially the way the game's going. And Fear's been very active around the map. He's not just farming, he's pushing mid. He's fighting bottom, he's picking up runes, albeit accidentally. Really having a big impact, and God, does it hurt that they didn't have that armlet on Lifestealer in what was a pretty decisive engagement. Just getting a lot of map control for EG, which also is going to set up the next Roshan in about 5 minutes' time.
Yeah, I mean, Armlet would have probably got him that kill that Chen on the top lane when Chen was trying to TP out. He just needed that additional burst damage, attack speed damage. It's such a good item on Lifestealer, but he doesn't have it at this point in the game, and he'll have it. The career's back up soon, and the thing is, he'll have the armor, and he'll also have starting his next big item, which I imagine will be something like a Maelstrom into Mjolnir, maybe a Basher. But he's going to hurt once he gets those items out. He's still by far the most farmed in the game. I mean, Fear on that lone druid, he's behind both Invoker and Lifestealer in terms of creep kills, but just EG with all this tower gold, also all this teamfight gold, they've been winning most of these battles, and sqL, they want to take down some more towers, especially this top tier 1 tower, still looking pretty juicy, nice and low in HP.
They're really, you know, for the team that had an Enchantress, they're getting, I mean, at this point, of course, you expect them to be getting out push, but not getting as much as they'd hoped for. They finally got that tier 1 mid, but a bit delayed, and really having a tier 1 up at this point when you have Enchantress. Surprising to say the least, they could find jeyo. Look at the damage, Cold Snap and that auto attack speed of Lifestealer really synergizing well, and this is what this lineup wants to do, in spite of the fact that they have tied, and on paper you'd think of even the better team fight. Just finding these pickoffs I feel really works to their favor. Then they don't have to deal with all the physical DPSers stunning and doing their damage in tandem. Nice send back by maelk. Now running for his own life. Runs back in, a bit of miss micro, but there's the Centaur stun he was hoping for. And the move speed from the Cobalt Taskmaster may be enough to get him out of dodge. kphoenix has gone to the bottom lane to do a little bit of farming. And maelk lives and saves Leshrac. It's one of those things that won't show up on the scoreboard, at least not too much, but really making a big difference there.
Yeah, kphoenix, so getting farmed. He's gone for a Yasha here, so movement speed, attack speed. This could, I guess, full Sanjin Yasha is maybe coming.
Do you think maybe Manta to deal with that entangle as well?
Yeah, it well could be. I mean, that's one of those counters for him, which is always going to be there. I mean, I mean, unless you go for, I guess, Rage and BKB get you out of it if you're already entangled, I believe, unless that's been changed. But I don't think he wants to save his range when he gets entangled. He casts range, it's quite likely he'll get entangled after that. So, yeah, Manta Soul, I mean, it's a good item. It gives him some additional damage anyway, so it doesn't give him a huge amount of damage compared to something like Maelstrom, or the lockdown that a Basher gives him, but an interesting pickup nonetheless, and he's so farmed. I mean, this is going to give him, to just get him even more farm. So we'll see EG what they want to do, how they're going to deal with this. Demon, 4.3k. He's 1k away from a Necrobook 3. He could buy a BKB, so I'm guessing he's not going for one, or he would have bought it by now. So I think he's just going to instantly buy a Necrobook 3 as soon as he hits that 5.2k gold mark.
This is just to show off. No reason not to buy the components now if that's what he ends up doing. Demon has all the blame, all the money in the world. And Vodki trying to fight him. This could be bad. The Ice Path will hit. Doubt they can kill Demon off the Imp. Not even really doing that much damage. Only a level 1 Imp. And not really getting the best range except for that last one. Demon's going to walk away. Roshan respawning soon. And it still looks like EG is in a great spot to find it. Now the Lone Druid going onto the tide, driving it back with that Radiance Burn, doing as much damage as he can. EG, we expect to see, like, I'd say a 25-30 minute just group up mid, go for your push. They're a BKB away from it on jeyo, but he's about to pick it up. Lone Druid's already got the Radiance. Maybe you want to get one more item on him, at least something like a plate mail to help the bear tank. They've got the mech. Do they need a pipe? I would say they probably want to get one. They don't have one yet. Normally, I'd say DK builds it in this lineup, but he hasn't gone for it. So that's the one thing I think they're missing, is that pipe.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think they've got most of the pieces for that push.
And it looks like even maelk might be going for it. He's got this Ring of Regen there. I mean, it sort of looks like a Vlad's, but considering Lycan's already got one, I'm thinking maelk is going to be going that pipe for his team. Yeah, I mean, BKB just 100 gold away for jeyo, and, well, Lycan, he's up that 5k gold mark. We'll see what he does when he hits the 5.2k mark, and yeah, I mean, Aegis just going to almost without a doubt go the way of the Dire team. There's nothing really sqL can do to contest it. They take it so easily, and EG can just push out the lanes with relative ease, so it's going to come down to how well sqL can hold when that group up and push happens. And EG, I mean, sure, I mean, they can maybe go for it 25 minutes, but if sqL just sort of sit in their own base defending those pushes, then EG just say, okay, we can't push now, we just look to continually out-farm you. Get DK his next big item, get Lone Druid and Lycan their next big items. Because the thing is, sqL can't just turtle for days and days. They're up against 3 strong carry heroes. I mean, even Leshrac can scale fairly well to the late game, and there we go. Demon instant Necrobook 3.
And meanwhile, mid lane Ravage on 2, catching out bdiz and maelk. Now the Ice Path to follow it up. The Meteor Deafening Blast. Beautiful combo by Fumoffu. Instantly assassinating that Chen. This could be bad, but the bear doing a lot of work. And here come those 3 tanky chasing heroes. The DK on the front lines. Another stun on the Vodki. Wants to get this kill. We'll find it. The bear, the wolf, the bear, and the dragon all working together. The Zeus strategy, as some are calling it. Stun as he 4-steps away. Kphoenix finally arrives to this fight. Oh, if he was there, he probably gets 2 or 3 kills. Unfortunately, he shows up late. I want to point out Fumoffu is actually, he's right there in terms of farm, just slightly behind the Lone Druid. Well, we'll talk about it later because now Demon getting cold snap. Roshan's respawning too. This is a big kill if they can get it. That 6-second rage just going to work. Kphoenix slapping down bdiz. Wants this kill. One more auto attack. bdiz is gonna live. Now they turn around. The Lifestealer gets melted, assassinated. The Necrobook plus the bear. The minions just doing the work here on Fumoffu. The Radiance burn. Is there a mana burn? There's nothing to mana burn, I guess, so it doesn't matter. In comes Kux with a mech. We'll keep him alive. Now they slow down the bear. I believe it was resummoned. It was, so if they could somehow kill this off, they're not gonna be able to. It looked so good, but Lifestealer just showed up late. They didn't have, when they had the advantage, he wasn't there, and then, well, his team didn't have as much to work with. There was no Ravage at that point. Still not an awful fight, all things considered.
All things considered for sqL, I mean, that's okay for them. I mean, they traded relatively evenly. I think EG managed to get 1 extra kill or so there, but I mean, sqL not losing too many towers. I mean, they're getting kills here and there. The big issue is they lost the Lifestealer. They can't afford to have him going down in fights. They need him to continually farm. They need him to get 3 or 4 big slots of items and then go and fight as soon as possible. He needs to be out farming heroes like DK and Lycan and Lone Druid to actually be able to kill them in these team fights with all the heals running rampant on EG's side, which so far he's done. I mean, he's still over 1k gold ahead of the Lone Druid. Invoker's kept up, like you say. I mean, Invoker getting very close to a sheep stick at this point in the game, has 4 staff, drums, phase boots, and we'll see what sqL want to do about this Roshan attempt for EG, if anything.
They have to know it's up, but really fighting into this is going to be hard without Ravage, which they have in 10 seconds. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a few seconds too late, but they're going to try and clash. The dewarding occurring. Roshan is dropping low. Roshan should die any second, and if I'm sqL, I'm running right now because now there's an Aegis up, and it goes on to Fear, which means this bear, even when the hero dies, he won't actually die. The Radiance will still be there. The Entangles can still be there. Well, they're going to back off, so nobody dies. They do give away an Aegis, but I think that's, that's sort of expected. EG are going to get that Aegis with the dire advantage, with all their physical damage. I just want to make one quick point about the Lifestealer's farm. He is ahead on the gold per minute, but it needs to be mentioned, I think that Hand of Midas is a significant chunk of that. It's about 2k gold and gives you some attack speed, but it's not a full damage item. It's not like having a big component of like a Sanjay or something along those lines.
Yeah, no, that's true, and we'll see what has he got with that. So he's gone for Mansell. He has bought the Mansell you talked of. He decided that it will help. I mean, getting out of that route is going to be the one thing that stops him from killing heroes. So why not? It's going to be a useful item from here. But EG ready to start sieging sqL space.
Yeah, here comes the siege. It's that 25-minute timing push, and they may not actually win the game on this push, but they just want to at least do some damage to the tower, try and force a fight. There is Ravage, but there's no Blink. Nice Deafening Blast into the Meteor. Ice Wall, not really slowing any heroes down. And then the Entangle. The Tidehunter is out of mana because of that Necro 3 being wailed upon by this bear. He will not die, but he has to go heal. Fortunately for him, there's no creep wave, but a new creep wave comes in. kphoenix should Midas something, is going to need every bit of gold. He doesn't have buyback. Actually, does anyone have buyback? Lycan, Invoker, and the Enchantress, the only three are due. EG are going to just back off, content with the damage they did so far. I thought maybe they would push that issue a little bit, knowing that Tidehunter had to walk back to the fountain. I really like this decision. Kux is going to get a Ghost Scepter. Up against this many right clickers, I feel Mass Ghost Scepter can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it really could be. As far as sqL goes, I'm actually surprised that Jakira hasn't actually got any points in the macro pie. It's been buffed. It's a nice counter push. It's even good sort of for earlier game. You can combo it with that Tide Ravage fairly easily. So T-Duck's going to need to start getting some points into that. We're going to have to see. I mean, yeah, just looking to do their best, just hold the lines. And I feel something that's important to note. With Lifestealer having this Midas, sure he wants to use it, spam it as much to farm, but he may just want to start saving it for team fights to deal with those Necrobooks. Midas is actually a nice little semi-counter to Necrobooks. You can use it on the blue Necrobook, and you don't actually take any damage. So it's a semi-counter in sort of the mid to late game to Necrobook 3s.
Also the Chen creeps, either of those great to take down.
Yep.
We saw the Necro minion just ruin Tidehunter in that fight. He has Arcane Boots. He really should be okay as long as they're up. I mean, there's no way they can burn all of his mana out. There's no other form of mana burn coming for this team. EG grouped up bottom, looking to push, and meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Sequential Gaming perhaps going for the trade. 2 heroes mid, 2 heroes top. They cannot really match up to EG's pushing power, though, and there's a nice patch just to slow this one down. I agree with you. I'm shocked there's not a point macro pyre, and also I feel even just leveling up Liquid Fire over Dual Breath. Dual Breath does some decent AoE, but that attack slow is so good against physical auto attackers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Spirit Bear is always going to be sort of Rambo in front. Even just popping that down on that Spirit Bear will be really good in this late game scenario.
Yeah, here comes the big push. Finally, Macro Pyre's picked up, and it's going to mow down the creep wave. I would have rather seen that comboed with something like Ravage or the Invoker's CC, but hey, they do kill off one creep wave and slow this push down for the moment.
Yeah, and they've got to worry about it. I mean, they can just so easily sustain this EG. I mean, they're not really wasting anything, whereas sqL, I mean, that's a macro pyre gone down. It does have a 1-minute cooldown. If they have to use a Tide Ravage, I mean, that's got a couple minutes or more cooldown. So EG, I mean, they really got this ability just to camp outside their opponent's base.
Everyone is so tanky. Demon needs a full Deafening Blast Meteor and is still sitting very healthy. Kux has the Ravage. Demon, running for his life, is gonna go down. He barely lives again, and now it's probably the Tide who dies here, but that Ghost Scepter keeping him alive. Vodka instead, forced death back. Sequential Gaming do a remarkable job of not losing too many heroes at this point. Jeyo's gonna TP out, while the rest remain. And can they defend this? The Ice Path not actually going to connect on anyone except for bdiz. There's your Ravage, hitting on 3. It's a Ravage bomb as kphoenix joins the fight, and he's got the Mantle if he needs it. Chopping through Fear, looking like a great fight without the Dragon Knight. They really needed that stun, and Fumoffu is going to escape, switching to Wex for a few points of movement speed. Has the Manta still, not using it just yet. No, doesn't have the mana for it. Could switch to those Intreds if he wants to do so. Just continuing to maul away on Fear. Look how tanky Fear is, though. And Tide finally drops in the midst of this. I really thought they would get the lone Druid, but, one of the downside of the Manta style, not really the best damage item. Sort of an all-around item. And while this is happening, Demon just ignoring the fight, abusing that push power. He gets the Rex. Cheesy, but it works.
Cheesy McCheese. How do you like your cheese? This is some fantastic decision making from EG. And it's working for him. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's all about getting that win. And right now, EG are looking good. I mean, for sqL, they didn't do enough damage here. I mean, Lifestealer came in. I feel Mantis, I mean, sure, it's great to get the entangle, but he's just not doing enough damage. I mean, you can see there, he killed Fear once, and he respawned and just didn't even have much damage left in him. And it's just not enough. I mean, especially considering how much gold they've invested in this Lifestealer. Even Invoker's had a lot of farm, but he just seems to be dropping the Deafening Blast media, and then it's like, okay, what do I do now in these fights? He's got the Forward Spirits up, but they're not really focus firing any heroes. He hasn't got the ability to focus fire heroes. I mean, DK's tanky, so's the Lone Druid. Lycan's just so damn fast once he pops the ultimate. I mean, there's no easy kills for sqL with their heroes.
And they're just so reliant on the Ravage. They get 1 or 2 kills with the Ravage being popped, but after that, if they don't get a bunch of kills, EG heals up, they run away, using that DK shapeshift, using the Chen to send heroes back to base, and the damage is mitigated. Whereas, you know, in another lineup with less tanky carries, without the Chen, or without the Chen having these kinds of items, without having an Aegis from that dire advantage, if some of these components were missing, the fights would go a lot better for sequential gaming. I really think a well-placed Macropyre would have helped them a lot in that fight, and it's one of those things where it might seem like kind of a throwaway ability, you know, it's not a black hole or anything like that, but it's an important source of damage for them, as well as the Aghanims, which is going to come soon on Enchantress. She has level 11 now. Imps could be the savior of this team yet. I think it's the one hero you never expect to win a team fight, but up against so many high armor heroes and all these auras, Imp can be sort of the one way that you get pickoffs where maybe you don't expect to be able otherwise.
And I just love some of these item decisions from EG. Jeyo picks up a Heaven's Halberd. I mean, evasion against this Lifestealer, some additional takiness from the Sange. I mean, this is just a perfect item which complements their strategy. I mean, you've got the BKBs up, coming on Demon as well as Leshrac to deal with that Tide Ravage. So now even Tide Ravage isn't going to be the best thing to sort of start off a team fight with to stop this push. I mean, sqL in a lot of trouble here.
Oh, massive team fight. Cox, what are you waiting for? You gotta use the Ravage. There are a couple of BKBs going, but he waits so long, and somehow nobody has died just yet. Infest into the Chen creep, could pop out and look to go. Does Chen realize it? I guess not, because otherwise maelk could have sent this back to base. Oh, that would be so funny, but he's not doing it just yet. In fact, Enchantress takes that creep over. Ravage, patience, and finally delivers. Will it be enough? Jeyo drops immediately. Unstoppable from Fumoffu, and it's actually looking pretty decent. But a net and an entangle. kphoenix still tanking, surviving. And in the end, it's a 2-for-1, favoring EG a bit as there's a buyback from Fumoffu. Don't think he needed to, but hey, he's alive. He's back in business. Bottom lane pushed out, so at least they don't lose the range racks. It's hard to fight these many tanky heroes. sqL's not doing anything badly. They're not really misplaying too much in these fights. It's just so hard to kill off EG.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a losing fight for them in some ways. I mean, maybe they hold, maybe they even trade favorably. Let's say, I mean, they kill a couple heroes and don't lose any. The problem is, like, every time EG comes, they walk away with something accomplished. They get a tower. That was Fear getting the tier 3 tower. Bottom lane, they got a tower. Demon gets Zorax. And next time they come, it's going to be even harder to hold. EG's going to get themselves an Aegis. Roshan's respawning in the next couple of minutes. EG gets their next level of items up as well. I imagine Fear getting close to probably an Assault Crest on his bear. It looks like his bear actually not up at the moment. But there's just a lot of farm on all these heroes, and it's just going to be harder and harder to defend every push.
This is something they really need, is this solo kill on Demon, or this pick off on Demon rather, that they do find.
Yep.
So every time that you kill off at least one of EG's heroes, it means they're not going to be grouping up and pushing. It's EG, they have some strong split push, but when we see them pushing, they're just combining all the heals from the Chen and the utility he provides, plus all the Rs. It's a lineup that's much stronger when they all stand together. No big teamfight abilities, but just the Rs and sort of the group damage potential. A lineup that doesn't do as much when they're separated. So this is going to delay the push, and now they group up mid. Sequential Gaming may be looking to make something happen, but EG, the Sage veterans, they're just going to back off towards the base and not give you away any easy kills.
Yeah, but I feel sqL just have to push out. If they just sit in their base waiting for EG to keep on coming at them, it's not going to win them the game. I mean, every time EG pushes, like I mentioned, they're getting a tower, they're getting a Rax, they're coming with an Aegis later on. I mean, they're just buying time for Roshan to respawn. So sqL have to push things out, have to go. And once again, I mean, EG is just going to push out the lanes now and look to maybe push unless they get the Roshan first. But sqL, I mean, this is a time where I guess they smoke gank once bottom lane is pushed out. T-Duck, sorry, not T-Duck, kphoenix needs to be there. I mean, he's sitting on 0 and 1. He's got 4 assists, but not a single kill for him. And as a carry hero, I mean, with all this team fights and all the push coming from EG, to have no kills at this point in the game just shows how ineffective Nex as a hero has been.
He's a hero who can be effective, but very situational, I feel. And even with the buffs to rage, melee carry that doesn't have a mobility skill, that doesn't have any hard lockdown. We're seeing some of the limitations of the hero this game, and also just EG handling him well with the lone druid, the bear always being micro to try and get those entangles off, force out the mad style or the rage at a bad time, and just focus firing him whenever he tries to go in and right click. And the lifesteal, a very strong 1v1, but when you have so many sources of damage, he just dies. And that's why we see him infesting into creeps and, for decent chunks of the fight, not actually doing any damage.
Well, here we go. EG setting up for Roshan, and I just don't feel this is something that sqL can contest. Sure, they've got Ravage up, they've got all their ultimates up, but it's going to be such a fast Roshan. There we go. I mean, it goes down in like less than 10 seconds, and that's cheese and Aegis. So you've got the cheese on the DK, you've got the Aegis on Lycan. Fear not even worried about dying at this point in the game, and that really just goes to show how decisive of a position EG are in. They've got all the heals and auras they could hope for. Mech and Pipe on on Chen, Vlad on the Lycan. You also get the aura from the Necro book. Fear's got himself an Assault Crest now. I mean, this is just really scary, and sqL, this next push is going to be the hardest one yet to defend.
It's kind of disgusting how many items they have, honestly. Oh, just so much farm. All these heroes great at farming at this point in the game. The Lone Druid with the Radiance, Dragon Knight always good because he has that Flame Breath, and at this point hitting level 18, he's got the splash damage too, so he pushes quickly. We all know how well Lycan farms. I have to credit EG because they've even managed to find some farm for the Leshrac, BKB, Power Treads and Urn. He's a hero that can't really be focused, of course, because you have to worry about those other carries. But you can't ignore him either. A lot of damage from him, and this could be the death push. 4 heroes grouped up top. They are lacking Demon. Demon could join the fight relatively quickly, but it looks like EG is going to back off, and for the moment, sqL survives.
Yeah, they're okay for now. I mean, it looks like EG just want to make sure they push out these other lanes. It doesn't seem to be any obvious items that they're waiting for right now. I mean, they've got a lot of gold on most of these heroes with Jeyo 3k gold, Fear sitting at over 3k gold, so it's going to be very, very tough regardless. I mean, they're going to get something up soon. kphoenix, I mean, he's on 3.5k. I mean, some of that can go towards a buyback maybe for this next fight, which you almost definitely need, but I mean, he also needs some sort of an item, I feel. I mean, something to give him some more damage, maybe even something like an MKB to deal with that evasion that DK's picked up.
The one thing about Lifestealer, I feel one of his the cool things you can do with him, a lot of them revolve around Infest, but we haven't seen it this game because there's no mobility skills on this team. There is a Force Staff on Invoker, so I guess you could Force Staff the Tide into a Ravage, something like that. But now with a Blink on Tide, they can at least Blink Ravage with an Infested Lifestealer, and maybe instantly pop 1 or 2 heroes, so maybe this will be a Tide turner for them, having the Blink on the Tide and being able to combo Infest with that. But here comes a Basher for Fear, and that's going to be a Basher on the Bear, along with the Assault Caress. EG really should be able to win the game right here with 5 heroes grouped up. Although they've already gotten the Rex bottom, so not really the correct lane to be pushy if you want to end the game, but maybe just get the range Rex back off.
Yeah, I mean, they can just take whatever they can get and then just back off EG. They don't have to fully commit to a fight here. I mean, even that range barracks is a small win for them. I'm not entirely sure why they need to be at this bottom lane. I mean, like you say, it's just a range Raxi. I mean, the other lanes is where the more valuable infrastructure is, but for now they're forcing sqL to defend this bottom lane. The mid lane is slowly pushing out for them, but none of the other lanes are really going to be at the sqL front doors anytime soon.
Yeah, mid lane pushing for the Dire, top lane for the Radiant, and here comes that second wave. Just going to try and brute force this down. The pipe was used rather early. Jakiro not actually going to connect on that ice pad, not doing too much, and the Lifestealer jumps in. He wants to go, but Demon just pops his ult. Lifestealer, just watch him, not able to really find kills, not able to really lock anyone down. The mobility and just the counter-kiting coming out from EG. They want bdiz, but the BKB going to remove that. For the moment, Lifestealer, he pops out and he's instantly focused down. The lockdown for EG looking better at this point, still no Ravage. Waiting for that blink, but the tornado was disabling it for a decent chunk of that fight. Vodka giving chase, even trying to just grab that Wildkin, tired of that nuisance tornado. EG finally gets the range racks, but the big deal there is they force the Lifestealer to buy back in the end, and that means no big items come up. You talked about needing at least a couple more. It's only been a Desolator, and this has been at least 15 minutes since we talked about him needing 2 or 3 more items to carry this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he goes next. Maybe, I mean, either crit or MKB, but he's not there. I mean, he may as well buy it as soon as possible, as the buyback is on cooldown, so there's no point saving saving that gold for a buyback now that's on cooldown. And the rest of his team haven't got much to show for. I mean, they've got the slightly better initiation coming from Kux with a Blink Dagger. Invoker's got the Sheepstick as well. Actually, Invoker's looking really fun. I mean, Sheepstick as well as another Mystic Staff. So, I mean, both teams with a lot of farm, well, EG with all sort of 5 heroes farmed. sqL with 2 heroes who are great late game heroes with a lot of farm, the Nates as well as the Invoker, but I just feel the Tide, Enchantress, the Jakiro, look at his net worth. He's sitting on 4k net worth. I mean, he is just nowhere near anyone else in this playing field.
Just so far behind. It's a decent farming support, but just can't compare to this team. Tower instantly disintegrated. They blink in, they drop the Ravage, and then where's the follow-up? It's just going to be the Lifesteal, but he is going to work. Now he's being focused by all of the carries, doing big damage. Jeyo gets caught by the Ice Pet. The BKB already used. Remember, he has cheese, though, so not really the one you want to be focusing. We'll pop the cheese, perhaps a bit prematurely. Lifesteal infested, and now he comes out, trying to kill off Demon. Great Ice Path, catching 3 heroes, doing a ton, but kphoenix gets entangled and now trying to toggle that armlet, trying to live, doing a great job at that, but Jeyo continuing to chase. Armlet toggle, kphoenix lives. Unbelievable, the changes to that item, making it so much more effective in these engagements. Maelk will go down. Enchantress, sort of that secret weapon, but Demon again, second time in a row, kind of ignoring the team fight, just focusing that Rax, and he is going to get it. The buyback immediately from Kux wants to rejoin this fight. Jeyo taking a lot of damage, Cold Snap onto him. Probably going to go down here. BKB cooling down soon. Will it be in time, though? kphoenix goes for bdiz. Immediate first proc entangle there. Really hurting them. They could have had to kill on the Dragonite. At least force hit a buyback. Would be absolutely used. Beautiful Ice Path is going to catch bdiz. Running through the trees. What a spot to juke into. Tornado is going to miss, and then he dies. Anticlimactic there, but they do get the melee Rex in the end.
I mean, highlight of that fight, that armlet toggling from kphoenix, holy crap. I mean, in between every DK attack animation, he would like toggle it off and on when the next attack should have killed it, but he toggles it off, puts it back on, gets up to 300 HP, and then as soon as he gets down to low HP again, he does it again. I mean, if he goes down, he has no buyback, and sqL lose that fight, they lose the game. I mean, they do lose a melee Rax at mid, they're down 3 of their 6 Raxes here, but they're still in this game. I mean, Invoker with a ton of farm. Makes the Lifestealer with a ton of farm as well. They need to go for a push. They can't just play passive, sit in their bases, and what we're going to see is some more cheesy stuff coming out of Demon.
Oh,
he's
Demon.
smoked up. He's going for a backdoor, and sqL are just going to be banging their heads against the table very soon.
Lycan could definitely out DPS the backdoor protection as well. They don't have the glyph either. They might lose this Rax. I don't know. Even if they TP back, Demon might be able to brute force this one down, but I think he needs the hero to do it. Fumoffu was also forced to buy back in that fight. He would have had a Shiva's, which is actually pretty decent. Oh, Demon waiting for T-Duck. T-Duck, as easy as Ice Path is normally to hit, it's hard to hit a Lycan who's moving at max move speed. He will TP away, using the BKB to ensure his escape. That Shiva's could have been pretty helpful. A lot of heroes that rely on their physical damage, and Shiva's one of the best items for an intelligence hero to get to try and limit it. Lifestealer, he picks up a Demon Edge, and gods, this feels like a game where it might take a Divine Rapier to turn it around.
Yeah, it really might. The problem, I mean, even with it, like, even if he's not dying, he's just not doing enough damage because he's getting continually entangled up. I mean, he ran in to try chase some heroes, he got entangled up. Even when he came back after survive, he got so low and had to do that armlet toggling because of an entangle. He came back in, he couldn't chase as many heroes as he'd want. He couldn't chase down Fear because he got first hit proc entangled again, and it's just been a very, very, I guess, annoying game for this Lifestealer because of those entangles coming in. Even when he's not dying because of it, just the sheer nuisance that it is preventing him from getting those kills has been enough for EG to keep themselves alive from this Lifestealer who is still well leading the farm boards. And he's going to pick up another big item fairly soon, I imagine. His buyback's no longer on cooldown, so maybe he wants to save some of that gold. And he has gone for a Demon Edge, so either MKB or Daedalus is going to be his final item. Well, not his final item, but his next big item.
It's got to be the Divine Rapier. Come on, you know you want to do it. Well, he's got to buy something if he wants to.
Yeah, it may have to. I definitely agree. It may have to be at this point. They're in sqL just have their backs against the wall. They may have to try something as desperate as a Divine Rapier.
Well, he can't even get to the shop if he wants to right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no avenue for the courier to get there easily. And they go on to bdiz. Big damage. He's going to get picked off immediately. to start this fight. Jeyo BKBs, but it's only 5-second BKB, as the 2, I believe, is the Lycans. The Rax dropping low. We could see a big Ravage momentarily. Blinking in, ravaging, catching out Jeyo, Fear, and maelk, catching them all, and the Lifestealer joins this fight. Meanwhile, the Rax drops. They've now lost 3 lanes of melee Rax, and the DK, despite taking a lot of damage, is giving almost as good as he gets. They will kill off the bear. Nobody dead except for that Leshrac. They're going to get another kill here. It is really the Enchantress doing the dirty work with this Mask of Madness and the Imps. maelk probably going to die for this. In fact, the Scythe of Ice connects. It's had time to cool down. That'll be another kill. That'll also be the Shiva's up for the Invoker. I think it's go big or go home time. It is an MKB. Yeah. kphoenix charging down mid. It's, if not a base race, they got to really force the issue right now. But Fear is already positioned bottom, and as soon as they try to go in
Fear's
mid...
in a lot of trouble, though. He's got no Spirit Bear. Off to the side of that fight, Lifestealer actually killed the Spirit Bear twice. Lifestealer was trying to kill Fear, but Fear, he killed his bear. He got entangled, so he killed the Spirit Bear. He kept chasing Fear. Fear resummoned it, and then he's like, okay, I'll just kill your Spirit Bear second time. So it's on cooldown for 80 seconds, and that has the Assault Crest, the Radiance, everything is on that Spirit Bear. This is Fear. With just Tranquil Boots, he now finds his TP scroll. I mean, he's doing no damage. Like, I don't think they even have to TP back and worry about him at this point. They just need to go for the throne. I don't think they even go for the tier 3 towers at this point. I mean, they want to get some Raxes here, but I feel you go for the throne. I mean, Fear has no Spirit Bear for a minute. Demon's going for the backdoor as well. They know that this backdoor is going to be coming, so I guess they're worried about losing this throne race. They're going to get at least one set of Raxes. kphoenix is going top, and EG, I mean, they looked like they had this game, but sqL are not giving up by any means. Demon is going to go for the Mega Creep, so, and this is going to be the big problem for sqL, who are going for the throne.
Oh, I love it. They go for the throne, and I think they might be able to get it. This TP in 1x1 could be bad. Jeyo gets caught, taking tons of damage. kphoenix right-clicking away at him. The BKB to keep him alive. Gotta focus the Rax. Nobody is here to push, though. Fumoffu has defended it. They get 2 melee Rax, so all of a sudden...
Some boots of travel. I don't know. I mean, he needs boots of travel at this point in the game, maybe. And Spirit Bear's still not up for about 10 seconds. Fear, I mean, they've held EG, but that was close. And now this is still anyone's game. Even, well, I don't know about anyone's game, but there are Mega Creeps up. Roshan has respawned, though. That's the big worry for sqL. They have to keep this mid lane pushed out. They have to go for another mid push right now, I feel. And the problem is defending against Mega Creeps is going to be a nightmare for them.
It's a lot closer than it really feels that it should be. You know? And a big part of it is that EG's BKBs are down to 5 seconds, so the Ravage is actually very effective. It's sort of like, you know, you get the BKBs and Ravage does nothing for a while, but at this point in the game you can wait it out. Your Tide's too tanky to be easily killed off. In spite of how well Sequential Gaming are playing at this kind of deficit, I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, there's a Cheese, there's an Aegis. EG's gonna have to misplay. I think that's really what it comes down to. This is a beautiful thing to see. It's a base trade, and EG might be caught unawares. It's a time for a TP scroll check, and nobody has a TP on EG. Base race time. Here we go. Fumoffu leading the charge. Gods, they might just be able to pull this one off. If they can't pull it off, do they have TPs? No, so they're absolutely all in. Just Cuck's gonna have one. Alacrity, remember the backdoor protection is down for the Dire. It's up for the Radiant. This is going down to the wire.
This is nuts. sqL are gonna get this. I mean, there's not enough TPs.
Yeah, they're gonna get it. They're gonna win this game, I believe.
They haven't done enough damage to backdoor protection. They need
unbelievable
geniuses.
Unbelievable! And EG in a state of shock, not saying anything in all chat. Normally they'll at least drop a GG. Raffle from Fumoffu, known for being a cocky player. Absolutely wodota worthy. Everything coming together there. EG not having TPs, the glyph being up. A little big gamble, but that's how you win a game when you're down Mega Creeps, is taking a big gamble. Oh, guys, I cannot believe this is a best out of 3. We've had some good games today, but this is officially an epic game. Sequential Gaming, definitely the underdogs, and by far the lesser-known, less experienced team. They pull one out of the hat. They steal one from EG that they really had no business whatsoever winning. In a 48-minute game, frustration has to be there for EG, who are up at odd hours, who really thought they had this game in the bag, I'm sure. This is game number 1 for the G1 League Qualifiers, round 2, and godz is laughing his head up. Guys, we have a best out of 3 here, so we have at least one more game if sqL can take the clean toe sweep. If not, we head to a deciding game 3. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss game 2. Oh god.